Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 5, Week 5. Our vocabulary words for this week are the words united, which means things that are together or joined. The word history, which means stories of what happened in the past, so real events being retold. Next, we have the word exclaimed. When you exclaim something, you are saying it very suddenly, very excitedly. You may be really happy or you may be really upset, but it's usually something that you're saying with a lot of feeling. So like something you shouted. Next, we have the word public. Public means something that's available or can be used by everybody. Anyone can use it, anyone can see it or visit it. So think about a park or a library. Those are open to everybody. You don't have to be a specific member or you don't have to join it. You can just go. Next, we have the word finally. So when we say something finally happened, that means after it happened after a long time. So something you've been waiting for that finally happened. Our next word is the word writers. So writers are the authors, or the people who write things down. So they write stories, they write books, they write articles in the newspaper. Our next word is the word rules. Rules are directions that we need to follow. They tell us things that we can do and things that we cannot do. So what are we allowed to do and what are we not allowed to do? And your last word is the word form. When you form something, you make it or you shape it. So you can form a club where you get a bunch of people together for a club. Maybe it's an art club. Or you can form a shape out of Play-Doh. So maybe you want to make a Play-Doh snowman. You can form a snowman out of your Play-Doh shape as a Play-Doh shape. Next, we have our spelling words for this week. So we're working on short vowel digraphs. So remember, digraphs are two letters that make one single sound. Now, our words for this week are the words dead, ahead, lead, thread, bread, breath, touch, trouble, gym, myth, small, chalk, instead, whole, and words. So we're making the short E sound, the eh sound with the EA spelling, and the short U sound, the sound with the OU spelling, and the I sound with the Y. So your EA to make the is right here in dead and ahead and lead and thread all the way through number 6. And then your short U sound, the sound, you see in touch and trouble. For the I, we saw gym or myth. We're making that short I sound, the I. Next, we're going to get into our ELA and grammar notes for this week. So we're going to be talking first about multiple meaning words. We talked about this briefly before. Multiple meaning words are words that have more than one meaning. And the way you figure out which word or which meaning they're talking about is you use your context clues, which means you're looking at the words around it to figure out which meaning they're talking about. So for example, we have the word rules. Now, rules has two meanings. Rules either means to be in charge of something, like the person that makes the laws or the decision. We can say the king rules his kingdom with fairness. Or the second meaning is rules, like the definition that we talked about for your spelling words or your vocabulary words, where it's something that tells you the right way to act or behave. It tells you what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do. Like we have classroom rules to keep everyone safe. The next word we're going to talk about is the word play. Now, play also has two meanings. It's a multiple meaning word. One means to take part in a game. So we can say the kids play tag during recess. Or the other meaning is to act in a story. You can say we watch the actors perform the play The Lion King. Our next word that we're going to use as an example of multiple meaning words is the word court. So court can either be a place where kings and queens live. So the queen invited her guests to a fancy dinner in court. Or the second meaning is an area for where people play basketball. So we played basketball on the newly built basketball court yesterday. Next, we have the word dribble. Now, the first meaning, or one of the meanings of dribble, means to spill like drops of something. So think of a baby when they're eating or drinking something. You can see the food or the drinks kind of dribbling down their chin. The baby dribbles apple juice while learning how to use a sippy cup. So you can see little drops of it kind of going down their mouth or chin, maybe getting on their clothes. Or the other meaning of the word dribble means to like bounce a ball, specifically a basketball. If you're dribbling a basketball, you're bouncing it quickly while you're moving around the court. And the last example we're going to use is the word batter. So a batter can either be a mixture that's used for baking and cooking. So I helped my mom make pancake batter for breakfast. So that's what the pancake batter is basically before you cook it, right? After you cook it, it makes these nice little pancake shapes. But before that, it's kind of this liquidy mixture. Or the second meaning of the word batter is the person during a baseball game who is hitting the ball, who's holding the bat, right? Because you hit the baseball with a bat, he's the batter or she's the batter. The next thing we're going to talk about are open syllables. Now remember, syllables are word parts, and every word has at least one syllable. Now a syllable is a word part that has a vowel sound in it, just a single vowel sound. And syllables can be opened or closed. We're going to focus on open syllables today. And open syllables are syllables that have a long vowel sound in them, and they end with a vowel. Now, if you have a word that has more than one syllable, it can have both open and closed syllables. It doesn't have to have just one. So closed syllables end with a consonant letter, but the open syllables that we're going to focus on end with a vowel letter. So like the word baby has two open syllables. Your first syllable is the BA, your second syllable is the BY. Both of these are ending in vowel letters, so both of them are open syllable words or open syllables in that word. Same for the word city or the word fly. Fly is just a one syllable word and it ends with a Y, so that is a vowel sound at the end of it. So that's an open syllable. Now, if you have words that have both open and closed, like the word pilot, see how pi has a long I sound in it and it ends with that vowel letter? That's an open syllable. And the second syllable, lit, pilot, L-O-T, has a short sound in it for the O. So that's a closed syllable. Same for the word silent or the words candy. So candy is in the opposite order, right? The first syllable, C-A-N, it ends with an N, so that's a consonant. That one's a closed syllable. And then the D-Y ending with that Y makes it an open syllable. And we're going to go over pronoun-verb agreement. So what does this mean? A present tense action verb needs to agree with the subject pronoun. So what that means is, how do you write the words so that they make sense next to each other? Now, there's some rules that we can follow. When we have a singular subject pronoun, remember, singular means one. So your subject is just one. You add an S or an ES to the verb that comes after it. So remember, our subject pronouns, our singular subject pronouns are she, he, and it, right? Those are talking about just one girl or one boy or one thing. When we have those as our subject pronouns, we're going to add an S or an ES to the end of our verb. So she walks, he draws. I have a new kitten. It watches people walk by from the window. So when we're talking about one person, place, or thing, the verb or the thing that they're doing has an S or ES at the end of it. Now, when you have a plural subject pronoun, so more than one thing, or the words I or you in your subject, you do not add anything to the end of that verb. So remember, plural subject pronouns are the words we and they. And we're also adding into this category the pronouns I and you. So I, you, we, and they. For all four of those pronouns, we do not add anything to the end of the verb. So they talk about their summer plans at school. We look at the amazing new paintings that our classmates made. I write silly stories because they make me laugh, or you read the new book at the library. See how all of these underlined words don't have an S or ES on the end of them, because when we're talking about the pronouns I, you, we, or they, we don't add anything to it. when we're talking about the pronouns he, she, and it, we do add an S or ES onto the end of it. So you can always come back to this part of the notes once you get to that work in case you forgot or you want to refresh your memory on which ones follow which rules. And the last thing we're going to talk about for your ELA notes is about how to write the titles of books the right way. Now, you can write them one of two ways. You can either underline, where you're putting a line under it, or you can italicize, which means you're writing it kind of slanted, the way you see it here in our notes. You can underline or italicize the titles of books and magazines. And remember to capitalize the first word in the title and all the other important words. So only the first word and the important words get capitalized. All the other small words that are not important to the title are written as lowercase. So which words do we not capitalize? I gave you an example of some of the words that we do not capitalize. So if it's not an important word, we don't capitalize it unless it's the first word in the title. So if in the middle of your title, you have the words a, and, for, of, the, to, or not, those all stay lowercase. So I gave you some examples. So Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. You can see the words and the are in the middle. So they're made lowercase. They're not capitalized. But in the book title, The Mouse and the Motorcycle, we know that usually we don't capitalize the word the, but since it's the first word in the title, we do. And you'll see and the in the middle where it's lowercase. So the only time any of these words get capitalized is if they're the first word in the title. And the last book title I put for you guys as an example, Where the Wild Things Are. So you can see the word the over here in the middle is also lowercase. It's not one that we need to capitalize, so we did not capitalize it. That's it for the notes section. We're going to go ahead and take a look at your stories for this week. And we're going to jump first into our literature anthology book, and we're going to read an expository text called Setting the Rules. So remember, an expository text is a piece of writing that gives us information and facts. So you're going to see things like headers, you're going to see things like boldface words, illustrations or diagrams with captions. All of these things are here to give you extra information while you read.
Genre: expository text. Time for kids. Setting the rules. The framers met in Philadelphia to form the rules for our country. Essential question: why are rules important? Read about how the Constitution sets the rules for our country. Who came up with the rules for our country? Your parents vote. You can say what you think about a new law. People in your neighborhood can have a meeting. You are free to believe whatever you want. You can thank the Constitution for all of these things. In 1787, a group of men met in Philadelphia. They thought the country needed a better government because each state had its own rules. They wanted to create a united government that would work together. They decided to form a new set of rules called the Constitution. Everyone in the country would follow these rules. Creating the Constitution. The writers of the Constitution included George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, and other state leaders. They were called framers because they framed or planned the rules. Stop and check. Make predictions. How do you think the framers formed the Constitution? The framers didn't always agree. They often exclaimed loudly that they would not sign the new rules and make them official. Finally, after 4 months of debate, the framers agreed on the rules. The Constitution is now the highest law of the United States. It explains the rules of the country and it tells how our government works. It gives rights or privileges to all the people, the Constitution. The Constitution isn't just about our nation's past history or its current rules. The document has become a symbol. Like the American flag, it stands for freedom and liberty. You can see the Constitution at the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. Adults have the right to vote. You have the right to say your ideas or express your opinions. We have the right to live safely in our homes. These rights are explained in the Constitution. Changing with time. Over time, the Constitution has changed. Some rules have been added to the original document to help make life better or safer for the public. The first 10 rules added are called the Bill of Rights. They name the rights that belong to people in America. Another change gave women the right to vote. So far, there have been 27 changes to the Constitution. That's why it's known as a living document. It can be changed or updated at any time. You can also see the Bill of Rights at the National Archives building in Washington, D.C.
Respond to the text. 1. Use details to summarize the selection. 2. How does the way the author organizes the information help you understand the Constitution? 3. Why are a country's rules important? 4. Why is it important to have one set of rules for the entire country?
Genre: expository text. Time for kids. Compare texts. Read about where you can find American symbols today. American symbols. When you think of the United States, what image comes to mind? Do you picture the Statue of Liberty? How about the White House? These buildings and other important places and papers are national symbols. Here's a look at some famous symbols. Can you think of others? White House. The White House has been the home for every U.S. president except George Washington. He laid the first stone, but the first president to move in was John Adams. The White House has become a symbol of the American president. Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell was originally ordered as a bell for Independence Hall. That is where the people who formed the Constitution met. The crack in the bell is more than 2 feet long. Just like its name, the bell symbolizes liberty. Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from France for the 100-year anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. But there wasn't enough money to complete it in time. The statue was not put up until 10 years after the anniversary. It is a symbol of freedom and hope. Constitution. The Constitution is a document that tells the rights and rules of people who live in the United States. It is kept under special glass in a building that is home to many famous documents. The Constitution stands for freedom and liberty. United States. Key. Star. National capital. Dot. Cities. Make connections. Why are the rules in the Constitution important? What are some important American symbols?
All right, that takes us to the end of our story in our literature anthology. We're going to jump into our reading and writing workshop and read a story or a passage from Time for Kids that is titled Visiting the Past.
Time for kids. Visiting the past. Essential question. Why are rules important? Read about how America became an independent country and developed its own rules. On the 4th of July, skies across the United States light up. It's Independence Day. The holiday celebrates the Declaration of Independence. In 1776, this statement was written to tell the King of England that the colonies were free from his rule. The colonies would be united to form a new country together. Janet Chang, 8, recently visited Philadelphia with her family. Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States. The Changs went there to learn about their country's history, or past. Busy building. First, they went to Independence Hall. That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed, Janet exclaimed. She was excited to be there. The Changs visit Philadelphia. "10 years after the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution was written in Independence Hall. The writers of the Constitution created new rules for the country. Rules are important. They help to keep order in a country and give people rights. One new rule was that people could state their opinion. Ringing for freedom. The Changs later visited the Liberty Bell. It is said that the famous bell rang on July 8, 1776. That's when the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence took place. The bell also chimed to announce important events, such as when a president was elected. Caption: The signers of the Declaration of Independence. Memorable moments. Finally, Janet and her family explored Franklin Court. This is where Benjamin Franklin lived and worked. Franklin was one of the writers of the Declaration of Independence. He also helped frame the Constitution. To remember their visit, the Changs mailed a postcard from Franklin's post office. "I'll never forget this day," Janet said. Table. Visit Philadelphia. Famous place. Why it is cool. Famous place. The National Constitution Center. Why it is cool. It explains the rules that were created for our nation. One area tells of the right to say what you want and the right to vote. Famous place. Independence Hall. Why it is cool. This is where the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were written. You can see the chair that George Washington sat in as he signed the Constitution.
Famous place. Betsy Ross' house. Why it is cool. It is said that Betsy Ross made the first American flag. You can tour her home to see how she lived and worked.
Okay, next we're going to get into our comprehension strategy and skill. Our comprehension strategy, again, is making predictions. And the way we make predictions is we're making a guess based on what we know from what the author already told us. Our comprehension skill for this week will again be cause and effect. So the cause, remember, is something that makes something else happen. So the effect is what happened. For example, if you're walking and someone sticks their leg out, right, that's the cause. The effect is you might trip and fall. So let's go ahead and listen to this section.
Make predictions. Use what you already know and what you read in the selection to help you predict what you will learn about. As you read, you can confirm or revise your predictions. Find text evidence. After reading the title, Visiting the Past, I predicted the selection would be about a family visiting an important place from the past. In 1776, this statement was written to tell the King of England that the colonies were free from his rule. The colonies would be united to form a new country together. Janet Chang, 8, recently visited Philadelphia with her family. Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States. The Changs went there to learn about their country's history, or past. I read that the Chang family visited Philadelphia to learn about the past. I confirmed my prediction. Cause and effect. A cause is an event that makes something happen. An effect is what happens because of that event. Find text evidence. On page 391, I learned that Janet Chang and her family go to Philadelphia. That is a cause. I will read to find out the effects of their trip. Graphic organizer. Cause. The Chang family visits Philadelphia. Effect. They see many historic places. Expository text. Visiting the past is an expository text. Expository text gives facts and information about a topic. Can have photos, captions, and charts. Find text evidence. I know visiting the past is an informational text because it gives facts about real places in the United States. It also has a chart that tells about these places. Text features. A chart is a list of facts or information that is shown in rows. Multiple meaning words. As you read, you may find words that could mean more than one thing. Look at the other words in the sentence to help you figure out which meaning is correct. Find text evidence. On page 391 of Visiting the Past, I see the word form. I know a form can be a piece of paper. It can also mean to make something. When I read the sentence, the meaning to make something makes sense. The colonies would be united to form a new country together. Multiple meaning words. As you read, you may find words that could mean more than one thing. Look at the other words in the sentence to help you figure out which meaning is correct. Find text evidence. On page 391 of Visiting the Past, I see the word form. I know a form can be a piece of paper. It can also mean to make something. When I read the sentence, the meaning to make something makes sense. The colonies would be united to form a new country together.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes for this week. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.